All right, and start recording. Hello, YouTube, Twitch. You've been here for a few minutes. Let's get into this dev diary, shall we? I think this one's relatively short compared to, hello, Twitch, poggers, as we might say. Hello, YouTube, a fine poggers from Twitch chat. I hate this. Okay. So I very briefly just skimmed this to see how long it was going to be, but this one's artificially lengthened by a list. Great. So not too long again. We might actually be able to get done under an hour. We'll see. Hello, YouTube, my old friend. I've come to get a channel strike again. The list is fascinating, so who knows? Good to know, good to know. Shattered Empire. This is very evocative art. Hello, everybody. I'm Jacob. Is it Jacob or Jakob? I don't remember. Community manager for Crusader Kings. This week's dev diary will be slightly different, as we're going to cover several topics from several different authors. Key subjects are Roman Restoration, Fourth Crusade, and the addition of dynamically spawned historical characters once the game's actually started. Ooh. Wish Twitch Mobile let me search emotes like the superior web version. Ooh, doesn't? We'll start off with the new Roman Restoration content coming with Roads to Power, so I'll hand it over to our resident Byzantine scholar now. Salvet. Might remember me from the previous dev diary about Byzantium. I'm Chad, game developer now turned programmer working on CK3. Today I'll be discussing one of the smaller updates we're making to the classic Restore Rome decision in Roads to Power. And we've done it. I didn't even consider they were gonna update this. Even though they knew themselves as Romans, Byzantium was not the same as the Roman Empire that you can restore in-game. And thoughts of restoring this idealized version of ancient Rome were not common during our period. If you'd like to play a grand strategy game as the Roman Empire, may I point you towards a great one called Imperator Rome. Guys, I agree, but I think you'll love it. It even recently received an update. It's really hard to go back to that game, though. They're desperate. They really want to make Imperator happen, and I don't blame them. With that aside, however, I'd like to show off some of the content we've updated for reconquering pieces of Rome's past. Shining armies of the Romans march again into the lands that our ancestors once held, and the glory for making it happen belongs solely to me. Nowadays, the main settlement of the area is Tunis, but we have not forgotten the time when the Romans controlled these shores from Carthage, once a lethal enemy. Later a prosperous city of faith and culture, now an empty husk of its previous greatness. While it might be too late to restore the city to its former glory, the convenient position of this area will certainly prove vital to the restoration of the Romans' presence in Africa. Even Johann isn't happy with Imperator. I want it to be better. I'm critical of it because I had such good hopes for it. Event showing the reconquering of Tunis, which is fired from the new Important Location system. In Roads to Power, you'll get updated event content for conquering pieces of the historical Roman Empire. This is part of a great new feature from my colleague we're calling Important Locations that modders will likely be interested in. Moddable? Good. You can now script a relationship between a landed title and another higher tier title and fire content when they enter and exit the realm. These can be scripted on the fly as well, allowing for dynamic content about titles changing hands. Ooh. Title Roma, set important location for East Byzantium, Empire of Byzantium, Interrealm event, Emperor yearly 2000. Setting the county of Rome is an important location for the Byzantine Empire. Would be great for something like a Warcraft or Game of Thrones mod, yeah. Set important locations, score country, score country, set important location. I don't fully understand the paradox code system, but just skimming here and mumbling to myself. Okay. This really does rule. Like, imagine event triggers when you conquer a special place. I want to skip an event for when I conquer England. Fuck you, Great Britain. I want a scripted event for conquering Paris as England or London as France. And exactly, fuck you, Great Britain. We've updated how you can restore Rome as Byzantium with an eye towards how the Byzantines may have thought about such a thing, primarily through the lens of Justinian. With this comes gorgeous new art as well as a decision to make. It's an auspicious day, for today the Empire of Romans realizes its ancient potential. From every corner of the empire can shouts of jubilation and pride be heard. Esse Romani, hail Caesar! For now I must steer the sails of this vast empire. What will we make of this Rome? Among many predecessors and the myriad incarnations of Roman power, the choice narrows. Shall we continue on true to our recent culture, or shall we fully embrace the traditions of our ancestors? Ooh. In short, when a title enters the realm of a specified realm, it will trigger an event. Same with it being able to trigger an event when it leaves a realm. That's what I figured, yeah. There will be no half measures. All peasant factions in the realm will target you. Increase wars from other kingdom titles. Increase plague frequency. Accelerated Mongol invasion. Gain access to the Pax Romana CB. Convert to Hellenism. Household God's Tenant is unlocked for Hellenism. You will henceforth be known as Imperator Caesar Augustus. Gain the new trait Augustus. You gain a new Caesar Legend Seed to get the Roman Empire. Biz HRE are destroyed. Byzantion becomes your new realm capital. Gain the nickname the Glorious. State faith of the Byzantine Empire becomes Hellenism. Every held county will change to Hellenism. Every admin vassal converts to Hellenism. This is so good. First option when restoring Rome, which provides access to unique bonuses and converts your realm to Hellenism, but turns on hard mode. Interesting. Yeah. They have a thing for world conquest, potentially. Oh, once you conquer the entire map, we're taking the Cleave the Empire decision. Right. May there be moderation in all things. Game will proceed normally. Become Augustus, new Caesar, Roman Empire, Glorious, copy titled History from Byzantine Empire. Rome always has a thing for world conquest. I mean, true. Just seems to be the end goal for the difficulty triggers. Yeah. We wanted to create an interesting choice here. There were concerns that this increase in difficulty might be perceived as too gamey, but we ultimately decided that restoring the ancient Roman Empire in the Middle East is already a gamey notion. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. The idea of quote-unquote restoring the empire, especially as Byzantium, was, you know, reuniting the empire, maybe under Justinian, but not restoration. Managing a massive empire like the de jure territory of Rome should be hard and create a new challenge for the players. Of course, if it's too difficult to keep the whole enterprise together and functioning, you can opt for the historical decision to split into East and West. Many historical emperors tried their best to maintain control over such a vast territory and failed, ultimately deciding on some variation of dividing power. Perhaps you'll be the one to succeed in keeping the realm united, but as I said, it won't be a walk in the park. At that point, you sort of end up doing that anyway. I mean, that's how this game turned out. My Hispania game, the one I finally got to 1444, I just restored Hispania and kept the borders, but accidentally conquered Croatia through marriage. Yeah. Compared to all my Byzantine games where I just conquer whatever looks vulnerable and beat up the Catholics for lols. There were many reasons that such a vast empire was split in the years of our forebears, and those reasons remain relevant up to this very day. Power must yet again be divided. Strategos Michael gains the Eastern Roman Empire. Byzantium becomes their new realm capital. You and Strategos Michael get a truce with each other for 10 years. Gain influence. All effects from initially restoring Rome will be reverted. Peasant factions will no longer target you. Decreased wars with other kingdom titles. Decreased plague frequency. Mongol invasion timeline will return to normal. Decision to cleave the empire splits the empire into western and eastern parts and ends hard mode. This also means that there's now a legitimate way to convert to Hellenism in-game. Upon reforming Hellenism, players have access to a new faith tenet called Household Gods. This is very cute art. Can I know? I can't full screen it for some reason. That's fine. Conversion speed in counties of my culture. Okay. Promote culture speed in counties of my faith. Makes the following traits virtuous: Augustus and born in the purple. Influence up, no negative opinion of other faiths. Ooh. Levy reinforcement rate, same faith. Different faith, popular opinion. Faith conversion. Is this incredibly powerful, or am I missing something? This is extremely good. It's what's that tenet called? It's communal identity without the drawbacks. I have to compare it side by side to communal identity, but this seems really good. It's the inverse of communal identity? Well, you can convert culture speed in counties of your faith and conversion speed in counties of your culture faster. Both of these. Whereas communal identity is faster conversion speed in counties of your culture. But slower promote, yeah, and fast. I maybe promote culture faster, but it's slower in outside of your culture, whereas this isn't. Was thinking of Insular. Ah, yeah. Interesting. That's all for me today. I'll leave you with a heartfelt parting quote from Catullus. Frater alve, acte vale. Goodbye, brother, and farewell. My Latin's not great, I apologize. The fourth, more or less crusade, sort of. The fact that Augustus and born in the purple are religious virtues. Yeah, that's so powerful. Section contains a lot of spoilers for the Fourth Crusade mechanics. If you're bothered by that, then please skip ahead to the next section. Okay, YouTube. That's your cue. Twitch, that's your cue too. Who thought doing this was a good idea? Fourth Crusade, God willed it, duh. God was so into it. Besides him, there was the Marquis de Montferrat, Mathieu de Montmorency, Pierre de Berceau, and many others. Maybe the Doge of Venice masterminded the whole debacle, if CK2 is to be believed. As far as CK3 content is concerned, I guess I'm the Doge, the architect of our lurid misadventure. My name's Jason, and I'm the most hydrated designer on CK3. Pardon me. As far as CK3 content is concerned, oh, I read that. I started work on the 4th-ish crusade as something small and simple. But, and no one would have seen this coming, the subject matter proved a little complex. And a little dramatic. It seemed to merit a whole hullabaloo. Hydrate, stretch, hydrate. Ah, because of hydrate, of course. As the most hydrated. Ow! Oh, my back just popped. Ah. Also, because you coughed immediately after. That's fair. It's hot air. It's 2 hydrates. Sounds like beating the shit out of Venice early becomes important. Potentially. So the 4th Crusade in CK will happen regularly and absolutely will prove a great and terrible threat to the Byzantine Empire. The Mongols are an apocalypse for all the world, the Latins are an apocalypse for the Greeks. Their empire stands tall, crumbles, or is succeeded by some hideous aberration based on whether the strange fight is won or lost. Not that I don't do that anyway. Venice is a good target. Later artwork of the Siege of Constantinople. It's very pretty. What mountain is this? I don't remember there being any mountains within sight of Constantinople. I wonder what this is. I mean, not that medieval and Renaissance art was the most accurate of the time period it represents. I'm just saying, I'm curious. In 1202, Catholic lords and knights began gathering to partake Jerusalem in a new crusade. A number of these Western Crusaders chose Venice as their setting-off point. This involved a good bit of sitting and waiting for their fellow lords to show, and it soon became apparent few others were coming, but the Venetians still had to be paid in full. Atlantis! Duh, you're right. How could I forget about Atlantis? God's endless disappointment in the Latins. First repayment effort involves sacking the Dalmatian port of Zara and staining their righteous swords in Christian blood. There the Crusaders were joined by the Marquis of Montferrat, with him a claimant to the Byzantine throne, Alexios IV Angelos. Still low on funds, the Crusaders accepted an offer from this claimant. He provided them lavish support, money, and troops for his holy cause. If the Crusaders could install him on his rightful throne, though some dissenters instead departed directly for Jerusalem, the rest of the knights got aboard for Constantinople. Emperor Alexios III Angelos, who had the same name as the other Greek, failed to fight those foreigners off. He was forced to abdicate and fell in favor of the pilgrims' claimant. The new Emperor Alexios, however, seeing the impossibility of making good on the promises to his crusaders, reneged on their deal. The capital was stormed and he overthrown. This is one salty mosaic. Yet another Emperor Alexios would soon meet the same end, and after that Constantinople was truly and historically ravaged by the Latin Crusaders. When the pillaging and slaughter was over, so too was the Byzantine Empire, at least for a time. Google says Ararat? Or Topkapi? I don't know Topkapi. Ararat is far, though. Isn't Ararat in the Caucasus? The Sword of Crusaders named their own Latin emperor, divided newly won Byzantine territories amongst themselves, and set about the business of establishing their rule. I really recommend Geoffrey de Verendoin's description of these events. So his is a rare medieval first-hand account, as he was one of the Crusader leaders. It offers a fresh, direct, farm-to-table kind of bias. Are you questioning Google AI's new AI summaries? Yes. Google is increasingly useless, and it makes me sad. Well, this is one of those cases where gamifying history means sort of choosing a narrative. It too means truancing events somewhat and adding a bit of dynamicism as suits the sandbox of CK3. Jason, you ask, will the Fourth Crusade happen around 1202? No. It's more likely to happen from 1178 start date. It's more likely to happen from the 1178 start date, and fair warning can happen very promptly. But it's possible from other start dates, though only once the Catholics are into their second or later crusade. What's the Fourth Crusade, though? Not necessarily in-game. We're not adding a counter that permits the story after only once the number of crusades equals 4. In-game, this is referred to as the Crusader Wars for Imperial Claim, or the Splintered Crusade. It was hard to come up with a nice-sounding term that actually fit. That's fair, yeah. There's a reason we still just call it the Fourth Crusade, because it's kind of a messy thing to define. The dynamicism of when this thing will strike is matched by it having relatively open ownership. You don't have to play the Marquis de Montferrat to introduce a wannabe Byzantine emperor to some crusaders. You can be pretty much any European Catholic ruler who has a relation to one such claimant at the right moment. This has kind of tipped our hand. The leader of the Splintered Crusade will be the above-named champion of the Byzantine aspirant. Putting this character at the helm centralizes authority over the Latin Crusaders more than is historical. Yes, but it's a big plus for playability and agency. Oh, in the Splintered Crusade, it isn't actually a crusade. This thing is a big, fat, ugly limpet suckling off the underbelly of a proper Catholic crusade. Let's get to that. I hope it's not a proper crusade, because those are a mess still. It begins with a Catholic crusade against the lands of the Mediterranean, sure. There's a Christian Byzantine emperor, but he's not involved in this Catholic initiative. Everything seems normal, and then some paltry little Catholic lord is hit with this. We armed pilgrims to the land overseas have contracted Venice to build our vessels, a most expensive undertaking, and one devoted to an uncertain enterprise. A terrible waste, moans Alexios, my courtier. The bravest Latin nation impoverished, made to suffer before the heathen. How could the Romaioi could aid them? I don't know why I'm having trouble with that word. As a Byzantine claimant, Alexios speaks pointedly of the Romaioi. Perhaps were our crusaders to march in his name, their cause could be bolstered by Greek soldiers and lavish imperial gifts. Could such an unorthodox crusade better serve the mission of Christ and his Christian warriors? When the Great Holy War launches, you and other willing attackers will be removed from it. You will lead a crusader war for imperial claim against the Basilios on behalf of Alexios. You may be able to create the Latin Empire. You will be rewarded with gold, piety, and special soldiers. These fellow Christians defy the authority of the Holy Father. Would it be so wrong to use our pilgrims against them? May be able to create the Latin Empire, be rewarded with gold, prepared for faraway campaigns. Diplomacy challenge. Pope Alexander accepts to mend the schism. More Great Holy War attackers will join your war instead. Alexios converts to Catholicism. Or Pope Alexander condemns your dangerous scheme. And a more impious treachery can hardly be imagined. Alexios leaves the court, gains stress, loses opinion, moves to stay at your court. What? Moves to stay at your court, leaves your court? Interesting. The crusade that was more about money than religion, all like the others that were both about money and religion. Mostly money, because money is my religion. Why is my phone making noises at me? Who's texting me? Aw. Alright. You opt in and shit is going to go down. Just not right away. As you wait for the crusade that you will at least temporarily bail from to launch, you're waiting to see who in Christendom is down to say, "You son of bis, I'm in." The Pope is first to weigh in. God punishes those who, like Lucifer, presume onto the kingdoms and empires of his light, yet he rewards the constant. What has begun among his crusaders I will not undo, but you will depend on holy absolution for the shedding of Christian blood. Proceed wisely and nobly in service to Christ, and you may receive it. Pray as you stand before the Greeks. Story would be incomplete without an avaricious financier, and Venice, or the most Venice-y ruler available, fills that role. Ah, so destroying Venice is not going to stop this. Viper, hey, good to see you. Those who bear the cross have many new built Venetian ships at their disposal, but they cannot fairly bear their cost. I persuaded our council to seek payment by other means. Pledge to us compensation from the imperial purse or with imperial lands. If you do, our vessels shall bear your knights across the sea. Our brave marines shall scale your enemy walls. The Greeks will soon rue their contempt for us. As the months pass, after Catholics pledge to the crusade will instead pledge to join you. Then the crusade is launched, robbed of your confederates. Y'all set off on a war of your own. Gotta kill all the republics, yeah. Also, I like that they're adding a lot of adjustment for variety in history, which we'll see more of later. Absolutely. Destroying Venice is still just for fun? Yep. I'll still murder the shit out of them for no reason. Byzantine Emperor will be fairly outnumbered, but all he needs to do is repel his attackers and this will be ended. If he fails, though... Oh, I didn't read this. Pope Alexander calls, but we will not answer, not yet. Instead, under Count Bonifacio's direction, we march on the Byzantine Empire. Where our pilgrims board Venetian ships, countless heraldic shields are being hung fore and aft castles, sheathed in leather to withstand the sea. Mighty war horses are led below deck as if in flower, great sails spread out to catch the sun. Elsewhere, columns of crusaders set out on foot behind the cross, with ancient roads leading them eastward. Let us avenge the Trojans, let the Greeks quiver in their palaces. Let them bow to Alexios Komnenos, their rightful liege, and we crusaders as their deliverers. He fails, though, all the riches of the empire. To uproarious jubilation, our charge Alexios enters the mighty gates of Constantinople. Beneath the great domes and celestial seraphim of the Hagia Sophia, he is at last invested as Basilius. How bright is our joy, how absolute our wonder. As I am coldly ushered into the Balshane Palace and made to suffer endless ceremonies, a rather different feeling comes over me. My predecessor, explains Basilios Alexios, took much of the treasury when he fled. Your crusaders cannot be paid what was promised, but rather we can pay you much, much less. Then we must take what we are owed, or disbanding our knights unpaid will not be easy. Latin Empire will be granted to your choice of holder. Byzantine counties within the Thessalonica will be distributed among crusaders. Every involved crusader gains 1370. Biz will be destroyed. The spoiler of Byzantium. All involved crusaders and Latin rulers will gain the spoiler of Byzantium. Holder of the Latin Empire gains a small army of special troops. Orthodoxy's forever increases, Catholicism's decreases. Convince the Latins to depart, diplomacy and martial challenge. Crusaders sack Constantinople, gain stress. Your claimant may choose to bankrupt the empire in order to properly pay off every crusader. More often than not, though, he'll simply offer you a bribe to leave in peace. You can accept, of course, and there may even perhaps join the proper crusade with your well-armed reinforcements if this isn't too late. Is anyone really going to leave in peace, though? Finally, you can do the Franco-Ratia achievement more easily, but like actually with in-game mechanics. Yeah! Franco-Ratia, sorry. It's Latin Empire time and it ain't pretty. We assault Constantinople. Venetian Marines are the first to hoist their saintly banner on the walls, where our knights howl through the city gates and slaughter every defender. The Greeks set their own homes ablaze, but even this great wall of fire cannot hinder the wrath of God. For 3 days the city is looted and its citizens put to the sword. The devout among us call for restraint, yet still the Church of the Holy Apostles, the Hagia Sophia, the holy sanctuaries of old, are vandalized and pillaged. Our leaders will now trust no Greek to justly rule this place and support the cause of Christ. We must name our own emperor. My vote, my choice, shall transform Christendom. Got the old nail polish off, preparing to put the new stuff on. Nice. I shall rule Latin and Greek alike. To the serene Doge. My kinsfriend Manfredo has imperial grace. Ottone will reign wisely, knight. Ottone. My kinsman Enrico. So your choice of the rulers for the Latin Empire. Unlike in a normal crusade, you can choose to leave your own realm behind and gain the newly made Latin Empire title yourself. Or you can give it to a relative. Or maybe you'll reward that kind old selfishly helpful Venice fella, just as the historical crusaders almost did. Below the Latin Empire title are Greek duchies and counties distributed amongst the most powerful crusaders. These rulers choose new holders for their assigned title, much like the Latin Emperor is chosen. Oh, speaking of Franco-Kratia. Byzantine Empire is no more. Its almighty sovereign who once claimed the legacy of Rome has been deposed. Magnificent palaces and cathedrals smolder, corpses rot in great heaps, chaos descends on a broken realm. Amidst these ashes, the Latin Empire is proclaimed in the name of Christ and Pope Alexander. A perilous, fractious age begins in the land of the Greeks. In the legitimized Latin Dominion decision, may be used to integrate Byzantine de jure kingdoms, lose prepared for faraway campaign. Every former Byzantine vassal gains the expunged Latin Dominion decision, can be used to reclaim Latin de jure kingdoms, may use the restored Byzantine Empire decision if they possess County of Byzantion. Every ruler with Latin or Byzantine lands gains the Sees Imperial Duchy CB. Oh, disgusting, especially with this plague. Absolutely foul. Oops, there it is. It's a lot of CBs running around. Yep. The Latin Empire is born, Byzantium dies. Though not cleanly and not all at once. The collapse is scripted to to prefer historicity, but it happens dynamically. The capital kingdom of the now destroyed Byzantine Empire will go to the Latins. The Venetian Sato de Mar claims some Byzantine maritime holdings, yet most of the Greeks do not bow to Latin dominion. Some mighty governors become administrative kings, while other lesser magnates claim feudal independence. A crusader trait for those first Latin lords wouldn't be quite right. They gain a new one called Despoiler of Byzantium instead, and it makes their AI personality aggressive as hell. I don't really see the extra Venetian land here they mentioned, but that's okay. I do like how the Latin Empire color sticks like a sore thumb against the default purple-red spectrum their titles normally are. Aegean up near Byzantium. Oh, right here. Thank you. I was looking up the Adriatic coast. Venice. Yeah, Latin Empire does stand out. Although it does blend into the Bulgarian duchies a little bit. Like the island in Epirus. Yeah. Oh! They are here, I just wasn't looking close enough. Yeah, these were the lands I was kind of expecting historically. Okay. It's a powerful position for Venice, big time. Spoiler of Byzantium. Martial and prowess up, natural dread, men-at-arms maintenance per dread, ooh. Knight effectiveness per dread, also ooh. Clergy opinion down, siege phase up. Popular opinion and Greek opinion. Penalties. The new rare and shiny Despoiler of Byzantium trait. But how does this all look to an unsuspecting Greek? Sweet God in heaven, the fucking Latins are... I'm getting ahead of myself. The Byzantine Empire is the first to learn of the threat to come, and is given over a year to adequately gird his loins. For the rest of the empire, the cult of Rome strikes rather more suddenly. Byzantine flavor on this war declaration does read just a bit different. In defiance of all common love for Christ, and spurning the cause of Pope Alexander, their beloved Bishop of Rome, a fraction of Latin crusaders now challenge our empire. Do they not know how very long our imperial armies have served as the bulwark of Christendom? May the strength of Heraclius protect us now. May the severed heads of Count Bonifacio, Serene Doge Noradino, and the pretender Alexios soon rest by the throne of Solomon. St. George, guard us against this Latin greed, this folly that threatens our very existence. Automod. You can say Lesbos. It's a place. Venice gets Lesbos. That's fucked up. Then if the foreign invaders aren't rebelled... The war against the Franks is lost. From the capital trickles word of the negotiated peace, talk of the newly installed Basilius Alexios III, a madness in the sacred purple who's paraded about by gangs of sulking, malacoded Latins. I hear too of the Serene Doge of Venice, an Augustios of snakes, hissing insults at our imperial ministers, dictating further tributes. Crusader army is still outside the capital's walls. Will anything make them leave? Anything short of our utter destruction. Safeguard the imperial ways whatever comes, should seek Constantinios' protection. Iones has the strength to weather this, soon perhaps I may just stand alone unfettered. The old, you were his favorite vassal, will soon join your court, the old Basilios. Will gain the kingdom of Bulgaria, will retain administrative government. Neighboring fellow vassals may take you as their liege. Will become Strategos of Philoppolis' vassal. Will retain administrative government. Become the vassal of a different strategos. You will become an independent ruler, will adopt a feudal or clan government. Do wonder if the Latin Empire realm might lose administrative, though they haven't mentioned that. I kind of assumed it would, but I don't know why I assumed that. This is right as everything in Byzantium is falling apart. If you're powerful enough, you can now seize the title of despot, king, and remain administrative. Otherwise, keeping your estate will mean pledging to another soon-to-be despot. Your alternative is going back to feudal and landless house heads. They should find themselves under one of the new Greek despots. In some, their empires are wrecked, but this isn't game over for the Greeks. The world marches on. All right, looks like we're coming up on ads because we did start a little bit late. So everybody, let's take a quick break here. Get up, stretch, get some water, make a sandwich, make some more coffee. Take care of your meat vessel. You only get one of them, and it's important for no other reason than that. We'll be back in 3 minutes to finish this up, and I'll see you then. Be right back. I'm gonna be a fucking dork and see if I can get this to pick up on my mic. There we go. We're gonna get through this. All right. The brief tumultuous age of Latin rule in Greek lands was referred to as such, Francocratia. The Latin Empire faces some interesting choices in the early days of rule. Oh hey, this is much less disgusting than the last one I had. Ooh. I'll have to remember that the orange flavor is better. Latin Empire faces some interesting choices in the early days of rule. The Venetians offer a quid pro quo. Serene Doge Orito of Venice has lingered in Constantinople, seeing to the renewed affairs of the many local Venetian merchants. Now his flagships laden with plunder, he bids farewell. We mustered very many under the cross, Oro crows, and look what it's given you, a great empire. But keeping her, can one sword's arm's strength suffice? Should we Latins not bound by our fervor ally these new Greek realms of ours? I'd ask only that my Venetian traders, from their many profound local interests, be assured special rights. The sword on Greek necks is still mine, even if Venetian coin is that which rules their markets. You enter a mutual alliance, gain stress because you're brave, wrathful, and fickle. Gains opinion of you. Every county in your realm gains egregious foreign trade rights. Venezia gains imported Greek spoils. The Serene Doge can be denied, but his lust for the profits of my new realm will hardly diminish. Every vassal gains opinion, you gain harassed at sea. Venice becomes your rival and loses opinion, gains a crest claim. It's not too bad, depends on how bad harassed at sea is. The Greeks suggest the Latin Empire become administrative. I am master of Constantinople, beautiful and desolated. The Bakshane Palace, the Hagia Sophia, the ancient Hippodrome. As I gaze out, I am elucidated by a creature of the Greek bureaucracy. But Theokitasos, this wise eunuch, grows bold. He answers the earlier question a little bit. For centuries, our glorious basileia wielded such power. Could you imagine, Lord, having all the realm await your edicts, even without right of blood or the spoils of war to offer them? Such power indeed could my Latin vassals, my loosened hounds, bear to cease their looting of Greek offices. Would they wear tight Greek collars? one or two Greek habits that I admire. Their gruesome punishments, their fear of imperial might. But the trappings of the Greeks fill my coffers. Latin emperors and their vassals may castrate or blind prisoners. Gain dread. Prestige, gold. Gains the trait blind. May it cloak me in ancient glories. Latin Empire becomes de jure liege of the kingdom of Thessalonica. Greeks and their descendant cultures will be more likely to accept vassalization. You adopt the acclamation succession law. You adopt administrative government. Become the head of a new noble family. Gain influence and legitimacy. Every feudal or clan vassal within your de jure realm and of your faith may change their government to administrative if you fulfill one of the following. They're a powerful vassal. They have opinion of 25 or more of you. Any vassals that have the positive opinion of you have a chance to adopt administrative government type. He joins your court. You gain imitator of Greeks as a negative penalty. We Latins have come. All that is here is ours. Gain vassal opinion. Gain monies. Gain currencies. In order to achieve maximum CK3 turmoil, the fall of Byzantium unlocks a new CB everywhere in the Empire. Seize Imperial Duchy. For in this age of uncertain aftermath, any who possess Byzantine de jure land can lay claim to other such titles. That includes Venice. Ooh, that's messy. Seize Imperial Duchy. And room. You're right. You'll siege any territory that is part of the Duchy of Athens, gain fame, army of special soldiers joins the victorious cause. And in a broken realm haunted by armed hosts, earning victory attracts armies to your banner. This should help stronger Latins, Turks, and Greeks in the region push their way to dominance. But what is the de facto dominance without de jure righteousness? Legitimize Latin dominion. Though the dozens of denizens of my lands remember their empire of the Greeks, they shall submit to what has come to pass. It is we Latins who have come, and we are here for a reign everlasting. Latin Empire gains de jure possession of a Byzantine kingdom within your realm. County control increases throughout the new Latin kingdom. Cultural acceptance increases with all county cultures of the new Latin kingdom. Gain either legitimacy or opinion with the kingdom's holder. It's going to be a blessing to room players, absolutely. Latin empires of sufficient legitimacy have a unique decision that lets them claim the kingdoms of Byzantium and the hearts of Greeks one by one. Expunge Latin dominion. The butchers of Rome, demons wearing the Latin cross, seize an imperial crown with fire and blood. Now they dare to claim lasting rights over our ancient lands. Kingdom of kingdom, deprive these crass pretenders, hurl them out. De jure ownership of a Latin kingdom is returned to the Byzantine Empire. Every council increases... County control increases throughout the new Byzantine kingdom. If you do not hold the kingdom title, you'll gain a press claim. You gain Ascendant Byzantine Reclaimer for 20 years. And the Byzantines, when if they manage to come back, can claw their kingdom titles back. Should they retake Constantinople and establish themselves well enough, the Restore the Byzantine Empire decision gives the Greeks a pretty easy means to scrub all this nonsense out. But you know, probably just in time for the Ayyubids or the Mongols or Ottomans or someone else to wipe them out for good. Kyrie eleison. Greetings. Regier here with a small feature coming in the free update. Wonkers. Wonkers, yahoo! Hey, how you doing? Something I felt the absence of for a long time are certain historical figures appearing as the game progresses. I'm not talking like along the lines of Frederick Barbarossa or Mansa Musa. Rulers and their kin are simulated with vast branching dynastic trees. Divergences here are core to the game. No, I'm talking about the great poets, scientists, scholars, commanders, and tricksters of history. Those without a lineage of nobility to back them up. In the update following Roads to Power, you will see certain well-known historical figures appear across the map, which you can employ, or in case you own RTP, set off on adventures at. Hildegard von Bingen! Chilling in bed because woke up early and got a notification that classes are canceled because of weather. Nice. We love a schizophrenic lesbian. Pious and accomplished theologian known as Hildegard von Bingen is reportedly wandering my realm in search of employ. She hails from the barony of Worms and has a certain air about her. Faithful yet somewhat querulous. Was a forward-thinking abbess, mystic writer, and composer renowned for her religious visions and scholarly works. She authored texts on theology, medicine, and music, contributing to medieval Christian thought. Hildegard was also known for her liturgical compositions and plays emphasizing spiritual and holistic teachings. Spiritual and holistic healing. Everyone's favorite eccentric nun. Characters will appear in their historical place of birth or at best approximation. Hildegard will appear in the barony of Worms, for example. By default, you will only be notified if they appear in your domain or if they are extremely well known, and you as the liege are the liege of any vassal holding the barony. This can be altered via game rules should you wish. Thomas Aquinas, Ibn Battuta, Hildegard von Bingen can spawn. You will only be notified if they are born in your domain or if they are very well known. Now, it's no fun if these historical characters are too static. After all, no two games of CK are the same, and in one game the barony of Worms might be of the Abadi faith and Baroness culture. For example, who knows? In any case, for most characters who don't fall into the category of a specific religious minority or proponent, they will adopt the faith or culture of their place of birth. As an example, here's Hildegard again, but with the setup mentioned above. Neat. Love that. All historical characters spawn this way, not historical landed rulers, I'm afraid, have a snippet of information attached to them, explaining who they were in real life. This snippet can be accessed from a widget near their opinion and from their historical character trait. Of course, the destiny they'll have in your game is almost always going to differ from their historical one, but it's fun to compare with nonetheless. There's the pass. Oh, Thomas Aquinas. I see why you have an issue with Thomas Aquinas. Pious and accomplished theologian known as Thomas Aquinas is reportedly wandering my realm in search of employ. Hails from the barony of Cassino and has a certain air about him, devout yet somewhat false. A Dominican theologian and philosopher famous for uniting Aristotelian philosophy with Christian theology. In his Summa Theologica, he championed the compatibility of reason and faith, significantly impacting Christian doctrine, natural law, and ethics. Aquinas' legacy endures as a canonized saint and doctor of the church. Man out there inventing sodomy. I literally think I have some excerpts of his on my bookshelf behind me. Do I have Aquinas in here? No, that's Aristotle. Hold on. If I have it, it's in here. Law. Yeah, Treatise on Law. St. Thomas Aquinas, right here. So I got a, I went to a used bookstore years ago, and I bought this collection of, what do they call it?
I'd like some more coffee.
They just call them great books. Spiderlope, thanks for the follow. Welcome, my cub. And it's a collection of intellectual papers and writings, many of which disagree with each other. Like, I have the Federalist Papers and the Communist Manifesto in this collection. Hamlet, Wealth of Nations, Aristophanes, the Euclides, various works of Plato, St. Augustine's Confessions, Plutarch's Lives, Communist Manifesto. It's a really cool old collection from like the 30s. It's one of my favorite things I have on my bookshelf. Sections at my old school were named after saints since it was a Catholic school. Ah. It's also basically is foundational for the concept of sodomy and what will become the earliest laws against homosexuality in the Catholic Church. I have my issue is more with Paul for his anti-gay writings than Aquinas, but I can see the connection either way. Although I did have a one of my exes was a theologian, well a religious studies major. I don't know if I should call them a theologian necessarily, but and made a pretty good argument that Paul was actually a moderate voice when it came to sexuality within Christendom, for the time at least, and he was actually fairly progressive relatively. But still. Wondering if the historical character trait will apply to start date characters. I hope so. It's irritating having to learn about him being required, but that just makes it worse. Yeah. Thomas Aquinas also spawns the book inspiration. Unfortunately, we don't have time to hook in historical book titles, so they remain random. Trait helps you find them via the character finder should you desire to see who's around and what they're up to. I like to use it in order to invite them and land them as my vassals. Get called a bottom? Volpez, you're such a bottom. I can't believe you want to get called a bottom right here in front of all of chat, in front of YouTube too, because we're recording this for YouTube. That's so embarrassing. See who's in here. Shmindra, Shlomo Rashi. I feel like I know this name. Shlomo Rashi. Michael the Stammerer, Joseph Charquiontes. I did not pay for this. I didn't know it was being recorded for YouTube. Ow, ow, ow. Good. There's gonna be Twitch bullshit on my YouTube. I love it. If you're lucky enough to have one of these characters spawn in your realm, you have 3 options. Ooh, William Wallace. You can choose to ignore them should you not be in need of their services, or you can employ them and get an obligation hook. As mentioned, you can also abandon your dynasty and set on an adventure as them. The only time in CK3 where I think it's fair to do so, because it would just be too cool to be able to go on an adventure as someone like William Wallace or Ibn Battuta, and it would be a crime not to offer you that opportunity. As the expansion focuses on Byzantium, I took extra care to add every interesting character that I could for Byzantium and their surroundings, which does mean that an extraordinary amount of characters will appear in Constantinople at the start of 1066. No less than 2 well-known figures will make their appearance within a year or so. It's the opposite of Wild Wasteland events. Yeah. Michael the Stammerer was technically already at court in 1066, so his text mentions that he made for a name for himself at court rather than wandering my realm. Joseph is very useful in fighting the Seljuks indeed. I will, if you want to go back and read the flavor text on all of these characters, feel free to do so. It's in the Dev Diary. I'm going to just skip it for time. Since some of these are pretty clear, others I just don't want to. I don't want to make a 2-hour video again. We tried to add as many interesting historical characters as we could in this new system, and we ended up with exactly 100 of them, spanning most of the map. There are many well-known figures, and some of them are obscure, but I'm sure that will pique your interest when you see them. Here's an example of some of them. Omar Khayyam, Dante Alighieri, William of Ockham. Occam's razor, right. Hélice de Argenteuil. Somewhat controversial, Pierre will appear as lovers, and if you set off an adventure as Hilua, Peter will join you. Snorri Sturluson. I know Snorri Sturluson. What's... You didn't think we'd forget about the Norse, did you? Snorri here is the author of most of what we know about Norse mythology today. Of course. This is the other guy, Snorri? I can see why you have a problem. I know why you have a problem with Snorri Sturluson, now that I remember who he is. Yeah. He's both the reason we know so much and know so little about Norse mythology, because dude just lied. Just made shit up. Many famous Jewish personalities, such as Rashi here, will appear across the map. Renowned scholar known as Shlomo Rashi Yishaki is reportedly wandering my realm in search of employ. This 11th century French rabbi and renewed Jewish scholar renowned for his comprehensive commentaries on the Talmud and the Bible. His works have a profound impact on Jewish study, law, and are integral to traditional Jewish education. Maybe that's why I know his name? He didn't invent Thor, but... Snorri Sturluson wrote... He's part of the tradition of mythology of... Let's write about our past culture, but we're Christian now, so we're going to talk about how evil and all the human sacrifice that our ancestors did, but we're also just going to make some shit up to try to shoehorn Christianity in there a little bit. But most of the, but unfortunately most of the writings we have, like the Eddas, are Snorri. How he reinvented, yeah, I think he kind of satanized Loki in a way that probably didn't exist in the original myths. Vidyapati, one of the most famous poets and scholars of the area. Jalaluddin Rumi, from a non-Persian area in Anatolia, and instead of appearing Greek or Turkish, he'll take his faith and culture from Balkh as a compromise. Several historical characters hail from one place but take their faith culture from another. Did he make Loki super queer, or was that before him? I think the queerness was before him. But the, like... Loki is low-key evil was almost definitely Snorri. Jungar the Wild. Not all the characters are 100% historically verifiable like Jungar here, but if they could have existed and are interesting enough, why not? Cool. Nasruddin the Hoja. And some most certainly existed, but their stories were embellished over the centuries. Anyone from Turkey here who recognizes this funny fellow? He also came up with the fun that is the Norse gods are Trojans, yes. Which leads to my favorite Norse mythos painting. Eckenberg Killing of Balder, where he depicts them as Bronze Age Trojans, in part because the image of the Viking hadn't been invented yet, which is so funny to say. He was painting the Norse gods before our modern image of what a Viking looks like was invented. And not to mention, just for the sake of soapboxing about it, the modern Viking image is ridiculous. Both the horned helmets and the, like, side-shaved, dirty beard look, like, neither of those are accurate. The Vikings were very concerned with grooming and, among other things, and wore makeup. Norsemen loved makeup. Makeup and combs and scented oils? Yeah. You might be familiar with a character named Varus, who's a very influential eunuch from a certain popular franchise. John here's the real-life inspiration for that character. Ooh. Added 100 characters, technically 101, but Heloise and Peter is a package deal. Here's the list, not in chronological order. If you want to scroll, I'm going to see if any of these stand out. If you want to scroll through this, go through the Dev Diary. Thomas Aquinas, Hildegard von Bingen, Thomas Becket. Ibn Battua, Roger Bacon, Chaucer, John Wycliffe. Levi bin Gershon, that sounds familiar too. Marco Polo, Bridget of Sweden. I'm outing myself a little bit with where my learning has focused by the names that I recognize. William Wallace we saw earlier. Geoffrey of Monmouth, I remember him, but I don't remember what he's done. That's all we have for this week. As always, thank you for your time and attention. We'll be back next week to discuss the details of the new scheme system, finally. Releasing alongside Roads to Power. And then, until then, if you have questions or feedback, feel free to leave them in the replies and we'll do their best to adjust them. Ooh, Fibonacci? I missed that. Regium Brigantium. Yes, thank you. Lordag, Day of Bathing. My Norse pronunciation's terrible, so I probably butchered that. Regium Brigantium, aka King Arthur. Yes. One of the myths that likely led to that, or one of the inspirations for the later Arthur mythos. Alright, if you are watching this on YouTube, I'm wrapping up here. Join the Discord if you're interested. Cool group of history nerds, queer folks, and queer history nerds. We get into a lot of fun there. The link should be in the description. Follow me on Twitch. That's where this was recorded. That's also in the description. Other than that, do the like, follow, subscribe, send me money, whatever I'm supposed to say. And for Twitch, let's get into the game, and I'll wrap up the recording here.